What's up, YouTube? My name is Derek Peterson. I'm with Saturday Out West. The guy joining me today is Spenser Davis with Saturday Road. He covers the ACC. I cover the Pac-12. We're going to be talking about the Big Ten. We're doing a win total video on Ohio State today. The Buckeyes should be, in my estimation, the favorite to win the Big Ten every single season. DraftKings has set their win total at 10.5, which is a big number. They're returning 6 starters on offense. They're returning 8 starters on defense, but there's a lot of change. The defensive coaching staff after Ohio State was not up to standards defensively last year. We can talk about that if you want. FPI has them second. S&P Plus has them first. Expectations for Ryan Day. They've got 2 guys who figure to be serious threats in the contenders in the Heisman Trophy conversation. Spencer, where are you at with Ohio State?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to be awesome, right? I don't really have, I don't think you can have a hot take about Ohio State, especially in late June here. Like, they've got CJ Stroud, who's probably going to be the number 1 overall pick in, the next year's draft. They have Jaxon Smith-Njigba, who is probably the front runner for the Blitnikoff at this point, either him or Jordan Addison again. And then, I mean, this just made me feel old. I knew he was on the roster, but Marvin Harrison Jr. is on this team and is going to be a starter or a big contributor this year, which adds a fun element to people that are, our age and older, I think, who grew up watching his dad play for the Colts with Peyton Manning. The offensive line is interesting. I mean, they lose 2 guys that got drafted and were all Big Ten last year, but they also bring back 2 offensive linemen who were all Big Ten and, of course, have always recruited really well. You mentioned the defensive coordinator. They bring in Jim Knowles, who had an awesome season at Oklahoma State last year and really just an awesome tenure there. I will say I'm a bit skeptical of that fit just because it did take Jim Knowles a little bit of time to get things going in Stillwater. And when he did, it was, last year they had one of the best defenses in the country, but it was a lot of veterans. It was a lot of, guys taking COVID years, a lot of seniors, so we'll see how that translates, with Ohio State's roster this season, but they should be better on that end coaching wise. And yeah, I mean, overall, they're 25th nationally in returning production, according to Bill Connolly. And I don't see too many, tough games on the schedule, right? Like, you've got Wisconsin and you got to go to Michigan State. Those are games that Ohio State wins virtually every year. You do have to go to Happy Valley, which is always tricky, but Ohio State also usually does okay there, right? I mean, most years. Notre Dame is an interesting one, right? First game of the year. And I don't know, man. Like, I think Ohio State is going to be favored by 2 touchdowns in that one, even though this Notre Dame team is like 5th in FPI in the country. There's a pretty big separation between where Ohio State is and, in Georgia and Alabama, and then the rest of the country.
Yeah, I mean, and that, that's a good place to start when you're talking about Ohio State versus the rest of the Big Ten. I said I think that they should be viewed as the favorite entering every Big Ten season. Obviously, Michigan won the Big Ten title last year. But Ohio State, typically with Ryan Day attached to the program, has been a team where if Ohio State isn't winning it, it's because Ohio State lost at some point, or Ohio State was uncharacteristic at some point.
They lost at Purdue.
There have been games, several of them on the road, where Ohio State is un-Ohio State-like, and they get themselves in trouble. Last year it was Nebraska, and if Nebraska was competent in the fourth quarter, like, maybe that game goes differently, but Ohio State still wins by 9. They obviously lose to Michigan. And I would say that on the field that day, Michigan was the better team, but overall and on paper, Ohio State was still the better team, if that makes sense. I think Ohio State, just in terms of the way that they have recruited, the way that they've developed talent, the way that they have sort of cultivated this roster under Ryan Day, they have no equal in the Big Ten. There is no one in the Big Ten that is close to their level. And it took a dream season for Michigan to get there.
And then they lost their offensive coordinator to Miami.
They did. And that's a big deal. And, yeah. That's reflected in, just go look at scoring offense. Ohio State versus the rest of the Big Ten. I have this written down. They've averaged 40 a game every year since 2017, which was when Ryan Day joined the program. 2017 also happened to be the last season that a non-Ohio State Big Ten team averaged 40 a game. That was Penn State. In the 4 years since 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, the average for the rest of the Big Ten teams has been 27, 27, 26, 25. It's gone down, actually. On Ohio State's side, they have a bad Indiana team. They have a Rutgers team that I like Greg Schiano, but it's Rutgers. Michigan, like you said, just lost its offensive coordinator, which is a big loss. We'll see what's going on with Penn State. Michigan State lost a big piece of what made it so powerful, so potent last year. There's just, CJ Stroud at quarterback, Jaxon Smith-Njigba at wide receiver, and TreVeyon Henderson at running back.
Yep.
I've in my notes, CJ plus JSN plus Trey equals problems. That's what it is. It's problems for the rest of the Big Ten.
It's a lot of problems. And that other team that averaged 40 points a game in 2017 was, one of the best Penn State teams in recent memory. I mean, it was Saquon Barkley with the coordinator.
Joe Moorhead.
Joe Moorhead. I was going to say Joe Musgrove. I don't know. I think our baseball hats are throwing us off here. Joe Moorhead, who then left, and Penn State has never quite regained, that explosion. And of course, Saquon Barkley had a lot to do with that too. But yeah, man, the consistency that Ohio State has brought is unmatched. And I'm not a buyer on Michigan being able to repeat what they did last year. There was so much dysfunction. I think it's because of how Brian Kelly and Lincoln Riley actually left. It's hard to, it's easy to forget that Jim Harbaugh tried to take the Vikings job and then just kind of came back with his tail between his legs. And then Josh Gaddis leaves for Miami and all sorts of stuff. I mean, it's that I'm not so sure is going to be as successful a situation this year. And that matters for Ohio State. And even if they were, that game's in Columbus, Ohio State's probably going to win anyway. But
yeah, and I think the environment for that game is going to be special, considering all of the extracurricular stuff that went on with Michigan after Michigan won the game last year. I think,
Ohio State might win that one by a lot.
Yeah, that one might be a beatdown. I do have one game that I want to ask you. So when we go through these things, we do auto wins, what we think are probable wins, danger games, things like that. I have 7 auto wins. I have 3 probable wins on this schedule. I have one game that I labeled watch out. And I label it watch out because I think that more likely than not, it is a win for Ohio State. And I think the most likely outcome is a double-digit win for Ohio State. But I have it watch out because it's on the road before Michigan. You got to play Maryland.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going with Northwestern there.
No,
Maryland.
God, no. No, God, no.
It's oh my God.
Northwestern is not have you been to Ryan Field? Northwestern is not a home crowd advantage.
I mean, does Maryland have a home crowd, a home field, a top
Maryland
tier?
has a fun offense though.
They do.
Maryland has a fun offense though.
Mike Loxley, yeah. I agree with you that, it's a potential trap game the week before Michigan on the road. However, I have that as an auto win, to be honest.
Okay, that's fair. That's completely fair.
Yeah.
It's just when I'm looking through this, I'm thinking about teams that have caught Ohio State on the road, and which there have been several. And if I'm looking for that game, Maryland is the team that catches my eye. If I think Ohio State's just going to steamroll through the schedule, Notre Dame is the only game on the schedule that I see, and I think maybe.
Well, Notre Dame's interesting because Ohio State has had trouble with these early season non-conference games. I mean, they lose at home against Oregon last year. They lost to Oklahoma in 2017 at home. This one again is at home.
And I think as we get closer to that Notre Dame game, a lot of people are going to point to the Oregon game. As hey, this could happen. Oregon was excellent running the ball that day. And I think, like I said in the beginning, I think that said more about Ohio State's inconsistencies and what was wrong with Ohio State last season, which was the defense. And just to kind of wrap it up, that's the big change. That's the change agent with Ohio State. They've got a new defensive coordinator. They've got a new safeties coach. They brought in Eliano from Cincinnati, who coached Sauce Gardner for 2 years. They've got a new cornerback coach in Walton, who was in the NFL for the last decade. And then they brought over Fry from UCLA to be their new offensive line coach. And he spent 4 years at UCLA, the last 3 of which he was entitled a team offensive coordinator. So you could call it maybe like step down, maybe joining Ohio State, but Ohio State's a better program. So I don't know. New DC, 2 new secondary coaches. Ohio State was gettable last year in the secondary, especially early on in the season. And I really like Jim Knowles. So what's the standard there defensively now? And if that is elevated, then I'm taking the over.
It's possible. I would add the Penn State game as a danger game, just on the road in Happy Valley. I'm sure that's going to be the whiteout. We'll see. But I agree with you. Even at, the over is juiced to minus 220. The under is plus 180 on DraftKings as of recording here. I'm still taking this team to win at least 11.
Yeah, agreed. Big year for James Franklin, by the way.
I mean, I guess, but doesn't he have an extension until we're all dead and gone? I mean, he's going to be there forever.
Yeah, but if Ohio State continues to own your bacon, like at some point somebody's going to get a little
and
Penn State a little antsy.
Penn State should be arguing for some division realignment, I would say, or just get rid of divisions.
Yeah,
it would help them a lot.
That'll do it. We'll wrap it up there. Thanks for joining us.